Hi, welcome to those that are just logging in. We're so glad that you've joined us for Job Club today. We're going to get started right at 9 o'clock. Thanks for logging in early. For now, locate that chat box, toggle the to icon from all panelists to all panelists and attendees to ensure we can see your questions and comments as we move through the content today. Let us know where you're logging in from, how your morning's going, and what kind of work you're looking for if you're a job seeker. Oh, welcome, Trista from Glasgow. Glad you're here. Carol from Lexington, thanks for being here. How's everyone's morning going so far? Oh, morning, Kathy. Glad you're here. Welcome. Great to see your name in the group. Welcome, Kathy from Winchester. Hey, Mary, thanks for putting in your what you're looking for work. That really helps us to know what we need to put or what we need to go for the Active Job Lead newsletter. Watch for that this afternoon in your email. Welcome to those that are just logging in. We're so glad that you're here for Job Club today. We're going to get started shortly. For now, locate the chat box, toggle the to icon from all panelists to all panelists and attendees to ensure we can see your questions and comments today. And let us know what kind of work you're looking for. That really helps us to build the Active Job Lead newsletter this afternoon and where you're logging in from today. All right, we're going to get started in about 2 minutes. Welcome to our Facebook Live audience. If you're watching on the Extensions Facebook, thanks for logging in. You don't have access to the chat. That chat box is not monitored on Facebook. Feel free to log in or to sign up for the webinar next round and you can participate in the chat. You're in view only mode today. For those that are in the webinar, welcome. So glad you're here. I can see a few more have joined. For now, locate that chat box, toggle the to icon from all panelists to all panelists and attendees to ensure we can see your questions and comments as we move through the content today. And let us know what kind of work you're looking for. How can we help? Oh, welcome, Paul from Lexington. Glad you're here. Sorry, I missed that one. We're going to get started in about 1 minute. All right, welcome to those that are just logging in. We're so glad that you've joined us for Job Club today. We're going to get started in about 1 minute. For now, locate that chat box, toggle the to icon from all panelists to all panelists and attendees to ensure we can see your questions and comments as we move through the content today. For now, let us know how your morning's going, where you're logging in from, what kind of work you're looking for. Hey, Peg from Lexington, glad to see your name in the group as always. All right, going to get started in the next minute here. So our tip to our newcomers, open up a Word document and be ready to copy and paste good resources from the chat. We'll be sharing those as we move through the content. Remember, our Facebook Live audience is view only. There's no chat moderators or link sharing in that option. Please continue to register for the webinar to ensure you receive our Active Job Lead newsletter. The schedule is published through May and registrations open at ukalumni.net/job club. I'll pop that into the chat here. All right, a new update from 2021. You can access presentation slides and recordings of previous Job Club sessions now at ukalumni.net/job club. This is a change in the last couple of weeks. Today's session will be online later in the week. For now, you can rewatch the recording on the Facebook live stream at the Fayette County Cooperative Extension Facebook. Oh, welcome, Harold. So glad that you're here. All right, I'm going to pass it over to Caroline to do our welcome.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today. Here's our agenda for the morning. We're going to share a little bit about success stories. We'll have our awesome main speaker. Then we'll share some active job leads and partner updates and what's next for Job Club. Our facilitators for Job Club are Diana Doggett with the Fayette Cooperative Extension Office. Diana's not able to be with us today. I'm Caroline Francis, Director of UK Alumni Career Services, joined by my colleague Amanda Shagney, Associate Director of UK Alumni Career Services. Also, our partner is Nicole Waite with STEPS Employment Services at UK, and Nicole is not able to be with us today. Behind the scenes, want to recognize Ellie Goodman for helping facilitate, as well as Hannah Sims and Suzanne Smith, who's helping us with that live stream. So it takes a team and a great group to work with. Our mission of the Job Club program is to provide a positive environment for job seekers to network, learn best practices for their job search. When we meet in person, obviously the networking piece is huge. So we are really hoping to be back to meeting in person sometime later this year. We'll continue to live stream though for our guests that are further out and it's not possible to meet in person, but we look forward to being able to see your faces. We really miss the live interaction of face-to-face time with our job seekers. We do meet the second and the fourth Tuesday of each month at 9 a.m. and our schedule is on the website. Welcome to our first timers. We're thrilled that you're with us. You will receive a follow-up survey later today, which will give you an opportunity to provide some feedback for us and let us know what you need. It'll also put you on our email reminder list where you will get one email reminder prior to each of our upcoming Job Club events. We are thrilled to be able to offer some free resources for our job seekers. The link will be in your newsletter, your follow-up newsletter that will come out later this afternoon, but fabulous resources on job search strategies, LinkedIn, resumes, interviewing that our career counseling team has sourced. So that's a great benefit that you can utilize. Have a success story that came in that I want to share with you. This one came in last night from a Job Club attendee. While I'm reading this one, I'd like for you to also share in the chat box. What are some successes that you've had over the last couple of weeks since we met? Perhaps you've had a telephone interview. Maybe you've updated your resume or LinkedIn profile. Success can come in many forms. So please flood that chat box with some success stories that you've had, and Amanda can share those with you with our group after I've read our testimonial. Want to extend a congratulations to Lori Eisel. Lori was a career changer, looking at a pretty major career change, and she has successfully landed a new position. She went from law to being a healthcare navigator. It was very much a passion-driven career transition. She's landed a position at UK. And I'd like to share her advice. She emailed in this advice. This is a very new job offer. She's going to be starting soon, but this is her advice. She says, if the position you seek isn't a perfect fit with your resume, but you know you have the passion or life experience that would make you a good candidate, be sure to use the cover letter to your advantage. Also, if it's a formal application online where there's open-ended questions, utilize the open-ended questions to also explain your situation and why you should be considered seriously for the position. She also said that she really appreciated everything that she's learned by attending our past Job Club meetings. She's been attending for a few months now and has been able to take away many things from our past Job Club meetings. Any other success stories we can hear about in the chat box? Who's had an interview recently? We'll let you add a few of those there. We love hearing your successes. I know I've had several clients that have had interviews in the last 2 weeks. Fortunately, I've been getting called back for second and third interviews, so that's great news. Even during COVID, people are getting interviews, so don't give up, be persistent, and continue to apply for jobs. Looks like Aaron shared, updated the resume. Oh, had a star phone interview with Toyota. Have that coming up. That's awesome. Star behavioral strategies for interviewing are very important, where you share the situation, task, action, and result. We've talked about that in some of our past job club meetings, but that will be really strategic for that Wednesday interview, Aaron. Harold also has shared that he has a new resume. He's in a transition right now after being at Lexmark for many years. We wish him the best, and he's preparing to pivot. Love that word, and that's a very important way to go about any job search, to be open to new opportunities. And sometimes it's a window, a blessing in disguise. Sometimes when our current position has ended, it forces us to try to do something maybe that we're even more passionate about in our next career. Thank you all so much for sharing those success stories, and we look forward to hearing more success stories next time at Job Club. Be sure and let us know your good news. Thrilled to have Josh Taylor as our guest presenter today for the Central Kentucky Job Club. This is Josh's first time presenting, so I know you're in for a treat. I've heard Josh speak at professional conferences. He is a very esteemed colleague, and delighted to have him present today. Josh brings over 15 years of experience as a higher education and communications and marketing professional. As Assistant Director for the Graham Office of Career Management, he's committed to preparing Gatton students to achieve employment success as knowledgeable, world-ready leaders. Josh began his career as a French interpreter and has held globally focused communications and marketing roles with Disney, Hands On Atlanta, and Rotary International in Quebec, Canada. Prior to joining UK, Josh was a career counselor and experiential education leader at Morehead State University, where he also taught courses in French communications and career development. He holds a bachelor's degree in speech communication and French linguistics from the University of Georgia, and a master's degrees in strategic communication and adult higher education counseling from Morehead State University. He is actively involved in Kentucky Career Development Association, which is our professional association. He served as past president and continues to serve in a leadership role with that group. Josh, take it away. So excited for your presentation.
Caroline, thank you for that kind introduction. Good morning, everyone. It really is a pleasure for me to be here. I'm excited to be able to jump on in and present with you. Let me go ahead and get my slides advanced and ready to go. So our topic at hand this morning is on branding. Brand you, create your own story before someone else does it for you is what I titled this presentation. I have to tell you, this is a subject that when I, years ago, if someone talked to me about, creating a personal brand, managing a personal brand, I would have not really known what that means. I would think probably to myself, I get how someone like Oprah or Michael Jordan has a brand, but I'm not Oprah. How do I have a brand? What I hope to do this morning is kind of demystify what this means, how all of this works. So thank you for tuning in. I had a moment earlier to see all of the participants. I saw a lot of familiar names and friends from across Kentucky. So it really is a pleasure to be able to spend this morning with you. I show here for you, if any of you have ever had the chance to do personal assessment, either through Clifton Strengths or perhaps the MBTI, y'all, these are powerful, powerful tools that can give us a framework, that can give us a vocabulary for understanding how to articulate our brand. And I'll talk a lot about this as we go on. But the reason that I want to bring this up now, and I'll circle back to it along the way, is that if you have used these tools, think about them strategically, how you can harness the power of the insights that they provide. And I'll talk about how to do that. If you've not had a chance to use these tools. The great news is that my good friends and colleagues in Alumni Career Services here at UK, or folks around the state that are affiliated with these tools, can help you harness them. All right, so that's my preemptive commercial for the value of personal assessment. Here in my office, the Graham Office of Career Management, we have a guiding philosophy, which is this: what's your start date? What I mean by that, when I articulate this to students, what this means is that every single day is an opportunity to start thinking about the future. I tell students when they begin their college degree pursuit here at UK, day one, that's a start date. For all of you all here, every time that you participate in Jog Club and you build out your network, those are major start dates. We're all working in advance of what's the next big start date in our career journey. And just like Caroline mentioned when she was introducing me, if you had told me, way back when I started my career, which was in French interpreting, that life would eventually steer me towards higher education, I wouldn't have been able to predict that. So life gives us opportunities, life gives us surprises, but every day is a start date. That's my philosophy. So to bring this into brand, I want you all to understand that your personal brand, it really does articulate who you are, what you have to offer, and what you can do for an employer. And you've got a chance to articulate that brand at lots of different key junctures as you're building out your network and meeting new people. Certainly while you're applying to a new position, you can articulate your brand on paper or online through your resume, through your online profiles. It's going to come across in the interview. And ultimately, all of this should work to your advantage to be able to be hired. And people will understand what they're hiring you for, what they're hiring you to do, when they really get a good sense of what your brand is all about. Now, like I mentioned a moment ago, and I include myself in this, back when I first started hearing about personal brand, I was a bit confused. I understand corporate brands, I understand consumer brands, and I can even understand brands that are people like an Oprah, like a Michael Jordan. But how does someone like me, Josh Taylor, how do I articulate a brand? Well, to help kind of, again, demystify this, I want to start off our conversation this morning looking at some corporate brands, some consumer brands with which I'm confident we're all familiar. And when we can see how brands distinguish themselves from their competitors, we can start to understand, hey, personal branding is not so different. So if we were to look at this from a marketing point of view, these are the different components of what creates a brand: the language that we use, the mission that we're committed to, the vision that inspires us, all of these things. Now, as you see here, some of these elements are decidedly anchored to a consumer product or a corporate brand, i.e. logos or design. However, as we're all able to leverage tools like LinkedIn, even on LinkedIn, we can control some of these elements, like what does the banner behind our picture look like? Those are elements of design, almost like logos, if you will, where we can really start to build our own personal brand identity. But much like consumer branding, personal branding, the language that we use, the vision that we're after, it's all part of the picture. So I want to start off the conversation by looking at a globally iconic brand, a brand that we all know. Some people might be fans, some people perhaps not, but Starbucks. And if I were to ask you all, what is the Starbucks brand? Go ahead now, if you can, and type into the chat box. And my friend and colleague, Amanda, you're going to be able to watch the chat box for us. Is that correct? And maybe let me know what people are saying.
Absolutely.
Fabulous, thank you. So if any of you have ideas of, when we think Starbucks, when we think the Starbucks brand, what do we think? Now, I will tell you, one of the first things that comes to my mind when I think of Starbucks is I think of, and I mean this in the positive sense of the word, I think of it as easily accessible. In my mind, if I'm at an airport, if I'm at a convention center, if I'm, pulling off an exit on the interstate, I'm likely to be able to find a Starbucks. So for me, convenience and accessible comes to mind. I think of that as part of their brand. Tell me what you all think. And Amanda, as things roll in, let me know what folks are adding to the conversation.
Okay, here's a good one. Pumpkin spice lattes.
Yes, come through, pumpkin spice latte. Listen,
Global
I would
coffee.
happily have that year round. Like the
Me
minute,
too.
The minute it becomes fall, I'm happy to have one.
Global coffee, expensive coffee to go,
Okay.
high quality coffee,
Okay.
quality, great, hot, expensive coffee,
So
coffee on every corner. That's kind of the accessibility thing you were talking
exactly
about. I could see
right.
that. Quality coffee served quick, in-store, drive-through.
Okay.
You smell it when you walk into an airport.
Right. So,
Um,
some recurring. Thank you for this, Amanda. Some recurring themes I'm noticing. Quality seemed to come up a few times. Expensive came up a few times. Well, let me show you. If we were to go to Starbucks's website, this is what they sort of provide as a brand statement, if you will, to inspire and nurture the human spirit, one person, one cup, and one neighborhood at a time. So we can find elements of when we talk about one neighborhood at a time, that sort of speaks to we want to be in your neighborhood, we want to be everywhere. But y'all notice how much about it seems to be anchored in people connections, the human spirit to inspire people, one cup. And notice they don't even bring up coffee, it's one cup. So perhaps this is an effort to say, hey, we're about more than just coffee. You can have a tea, you can have a frappe, all of these things. So interesting how Starbucks as an organization frames what they're all about. This gets into their mission, their vision, if you will, which appears to be, in my mind, a lot more about creating connection and community than it even is necessarily about food and beverage. Well, in a similar way, I'd love to hear from you all. These are three distinct different brands: Starbucks, Dunkin'. Now, a few years ago, we would have called Dunkin' Dunkin' Donuts. Some of you perhaps have noticed that they have rebranded their name at the corporate level to Dunkin', and Panera. Now, the reason that I have joined these three brands together is, let's be honest, they're in a similar space, aren't they? They deliver beverages, and they deliver food, and they deliver snacks. They deliver coffee and other fabulous treats. But they're three distinct brands, and they might signal for us different brand identities. So I'd love to hear, we heard a little bit about what we think of when we think of Starbucks. I heard the words like quality, I heard expensive, and I'm wondering if those are the same sorts of terms that you might apply to Dunkin'. Why or why not? And in what ways does Panera distinguish itself between these kinds of competitors? So Amanda, as things roll in, please let me know what folks are thinking as we're now comparing similar yet distinct brands.
I'm watching the chat for us here.
So as we wait for folks to chime in, let me tell you a little bit what I think. So I told you that one of the first things I think of when I think of Starbucks is that it's got that almost ubiquitous presence everywhere. When I think of Dunkin', I think of sweet treats and like guilty pleasures, like a nice, delicious, sugary donut. That's what I think of when I think of Dunkin'. So I think of their donuts before I think of their coffee, although I do love Dunkin' Donuts coffee. And when I think of Panera, I think of, they did a very effective branding campaign a few years ago about food as it should be, meaning clean food, free of dyes or preservatives, organic and local when possible. So for me, Panera has created a brand identity about the quality and the cleanliness, is that how to say it? The clean food, if you will. So when I think Panera, I think clean. When I think Dunkin', I think like fabulous guilty pleasure donut. But that's kind of where my mind goes. What about for you all?
Well, it looks like Panera is catering to healthy choices. Dunkin'
Okay,
for
right?
quick food.
Okay.
Dunkin', they think of Boston, blue collar.
Yes, Boston for sure.
Dunkin', quick and inexpensive. Coffee, donuts, tasty salads. Oh, like the first one is coffee. The second one is donuts. And
Okay.
Panera would be tasty salads.
Yes.
Dunkin' is more value, good bang for the buck.
Okay.
Dunkin', they think of donuts and sugar. Okay, here's a good one to break down. Starbucks, upper to mid-class.
Okay.
Go to more often. Dunkin', maybe mid-class.
Okay.
Panera, sit and stay.
Okay. Interesting. I love that. Thank you to whoever provided that insight. So, I'm not going to necessarily, when I think, I've got a work from home day. Let's imagine this is all before COVID. I can imagine taking my laptop to a Starbucks and settling into like one of those nice, comfortable chairs. I can imagine a similar opportunity to do that in Panera. I wouldn't necessarily think of Dunkin' as the place that I'm going to go with my headphones and my laptop and really settle in. But someone mentioned that Panera comes to mind for that. It's a place you can kind of linger and stay. I remember they have almost these attractive fireplaces almost in a lot of Paneras that you've probably seen before. And the value in terms of the price, someone mentioned that they perceive Dunkin' to be more of an affordable cup of coffee, whereas perhaps a Starbucks cup of coffee is going to be more of a prestige price. So thank you, y'all, for all of these insights. This really kind of shows us three comparable products. We could go get a latte and a bagel at all three of these places. We could get a latte and a muffin at all three of these places. But the approach to it, the branding that these as corporations have created for themselves, it's different. Someone mentioned Boston. My brother has been living in Boston for the better part of the last 10 years. He just relocated back to Atlanta, where we were born and raised, but he's been in Boston. And he would joke with me. He would say, Joshua, he calls me Joshua. Most everyone else calls me Josh, but Andrew calls me Joshua. He would say, Boston has as many Dunkin' Donuts as we have Waffle Houses down in Atlanta. And I did perceive that to be true. So it really is on every corner. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that it was probably founded in the Boston area. All right, well, we could keep talking about this, but you all hopefully get a sense of how these companies have successfully created different brand identities that resonate with us as consumers. And we might have our preference, we might have our favorites. I want to give one other example, and this now brings it much closer to home for us here in Central Kentucky. I want to talk a bit to you about L8, a brand that I presume probably everyone here on this call is very familiar with, founded in Winchester. I remember when I first came to Kentucky, L8 was not on my radar. Now I'm a big L8 fan, but I want to show you a video that L8 put together for a new branding campaign, and it really is consciously anchoring the L8 experience, the L8 product, to Kentucky itself. And I want you to pay close attention to the visuals, maybe even listen to the music, and also listen to the words that L8 is honing in on to differentiate its product from any other kind of soft drink. So let's watch this video now.
We don't cater to the common. We don't run on a beaten path. Confident that being made from scratch is the only way. Loyal, steady, and proudly unconventional since 1926, our history is inspiration for the future. We have our own crisp, clean taste. And for those that share our independent pioneering spirit and are discontent with the common can, we raise an Ale 8, the drink for those who find their own flavor. Prove how great different can be. Share the best of the bluegrass and green glass. Open one yourself.
Hurry.
All right. So what I love about this commercial, and let's hear from folks in the chat, fire in things that you noticed, some consciously strategic choices that L8 made when putting together this commercial. And again, I'm thinking, are there words? Is there imagery? Are there sounds that the brand used to really differentiate what L8 is all about? And these are some of the things that I noticed. Words like independent, uncommon, and different. Maybe some of you noticed that, but Amanda, let me know what folks are saying.
Let's see here. Catering to emotions and experiences. Someone noticed they were all Caucasian. They're all white people.
Hmm.
Someone recognized Windy Corner on there in West 6. Someone says they don't understand Elate. That's to do with their branding, isn't it? Like Elate One, L81.
Oh, okay. So yes, even what does L8 mean? Yes. So it's a play on ginger ale. And as you've said, Amanda, a late one. It's my understanding that when the brand began, it was kind of late to the whole, we already had colas, we had Coca-Cola, we had Pepsi. And so it was a late arrival to the soft drink market, if you will. So all of that is part of the name L8, a late one.
Kentucky Tourism, Bluegrass, Green Glass, Active, Social, Unique. Felt like a beer commercial.
Interesting.
From scratch.
From scratch, yes. So they really honed in on that, made from scratch. And just as you've said, there's imagery from West 6 Brewing, another iconic Central Kentucky brand. There's imagery from the Red River Gorge area, Natural Bridge. It seems to be, as a product, marketing itself to an outdoorsy type, maybe, and I myself am not one to go, climbing off a mountain and rappelling and hiking, but it seems to sort of be the neighborhood of the consumer that they're going for. But through the music, through the imagery, very much tying L8 to Kentucky as a place, to Kentucky as a brand itself. So a lot to unpack there. All right, Linda, thank you for riding along with me as we look at some of these brands that we know. Again, the reason that I think that this is helpful to do is that we're all, in our own respects, consumers. We get to decide, do we drink soft drinks? And if so, which ones? Do we pull over off the interstate to grab a cup of coffee? And if so, where do we choose to go? So brands resonate with us as consumers. I want you all to know that as professionals, in a very similar way, we give others an indication of who we are through our personal brand. So, and oftentimes the practices of good business management really do mirror what are good career management practices. And I think branding in this case is no exception. So let's now talk about personal branding. Personal branding, in my mind, is the intersection of how you see yourself and how others see you. Where those areas collide, that is your personal brand. So I want you, again, this gets back to our philosophy here at the Graham office of what's your start date. If you've not thought strategically and creatively and carefully about your brand, hey, today you're doing it. So today is a great start date. So this is what personal branding is. And in short, it really is how we market ourselves, professionally speaking, to others. And in that way, it's so similar to how companies market their products. We as professionals market ourselves as potential hires and as colleagues to others. And then the way that we do that is there are pieces that we need to put together. This is a quote from the writer and poet Maya Angelou. And I think that this, well, one, it's such a beautiful expression, and I'll read it to you here in a moment. But to me, it intersects with what we're saying here about branding. So this is what she has said. I've learned that people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. I think that's so powerful. I have known people over the years. I have worked with people over the years. And some people build you up. Some people give you energy, and others maybe not so much. But all along the way, you remember from people, you take from people how they made you feel. And for me, our brand is an opportunity to hopefully, I would like to believe, make a positive impact, inspire other people, and really help people understand what we're all about through our brand. Now, this comes from this philosophy, comes from a book that I'm going to show you. It's called Brand Now. But listen, we already have a brand, whether we know it or not. The question is are we actively managing it, and are we thinking about it? And again, Nick Westergaard, who's the author of this book, Brand Now, he says this: create your own story before someone else does it for you. To the extent that we're able, and again, it is an intersection of how we see ourselves and how other people see us, but we're in control of quite a bit here. So to the extent that we are able, how can we define and establish the narrative of what we want other people to understand about us? that's where we're in control. So our job as a candidate, our job as new hires, when we're putting ourselves out there to join a new organization, it is our responsibility to bring value to an organization. That's why we're going to get hired. We're going to get hired if we can show, if you hire me, it's going to bring value to your team. It's going to bring value to what you do, and I want to be a part of it. Our brand is a key way that we can signal that value that we can and are ready to bring. So it really does connect who you are to what you want to do. And this is where I want to now start breaking down some of those pieces that we can get from assessment. And I'm going to give you a strategy on how to put together a personal brand statement so that you can start to leverage this, whether it's on your resume in a professional summary statement, or whether it's the way that you talk about yourself in an elevator pitch or present yourself in an interview. It is my belief that when we really think about our vision for our career futures, there's some things we need to be able to answer. Here at the Graham office, we break down career management into 3 primary steps. Learn who you are, plan where you'll go, and get where you're going. But it's the learn who you are piece that I think really impacts with the conversation we're having this morning about branding. When we learn who we are, what our strengths are, what our interests are, the things that motivate us, we really have some powerful information, a framework, like I said before, a vocabulary to be able to articulate who we are, what we do, what we're driven to do. All of these things are impacted by our personality wiring, our strengths, our skills, our interests, and our motivators, the things that we value and the things that push us forward. And this is where, how, and why tools like the MBTI, the strong interest inventory, Clifton Strengths, all of these tools can really give us the insights we need about ourselves and give us an effective vocabulary to start to use. So if you've had the chance to do these assessments, think about that now. If you've not had a chance to do these assessments, ask yourself, should I reach out to Caroline and Amanda and maybe other folks that I know that could help me use these kinds of tools? But think about it. What do you want your brand to be? Now, I've given you a few examples here, and I'll be honest. One is a bit more aligned with what I would like to believe my brand is, and the other I have based on my younger brother, Andrew. I mentioned him before. The reason that I so often reference my younger brother, Andrew, is that he and I are such different people. Those of you who have seen my brother or met my brother know that we almost look like twins, but we could not be more different. So I would like to believe perhaps that, if I would like to be known for something, maybe it's excellent people skills or customer service. My brother, meanwhile, when you think of Andrew, you think of probably data and technology management. Now, when you think of Josh Taylor, and some of you have worked with me directly as colleagues, I'm probably not your go-to data or technology guy, but I might be your go-to person. If you're looking for creative ideas or for high energy, maybe that's me. If you're looking for someone who's detail-oriented and efficient, maybe that's my younger brother, Andrew. Do you see how these are just different flavors, different presentations of who we are? And when you put yourself on the market, I want you to be able to really sell yourself both on paper and in the interview. And when you're networking on platforms like LinkedIn, let people want to hire you for what you can bring to the table. Now, when I tell you that I'm not really a data or a technology guy, that doesn't mean that I'm, trying to get myself off the hook, or that I don't know how to use Excel, or I don't appreciate the value of data. But if I'm on the market, I'm trying to get someone to hire Josh Taylor for the things that Josh Taylor can do. Does that make sense? And when I look to my Clifton Strengths, when I look to my MBTI, it gives me a vocabulary that I can use. Now, my friend and colleague from the Kentucky Career Development Association, Rachel Hoover. Rachel, you didn't know I was going to do this. I think you're on the call. But just yesterday, Rachel and I were chatting about something on LinkedIn. And I noticed on Rachel's LinkedIn profile, she has a fantastic indication of her brand. And Rachel, this is what I noticed you wrote on your LinkedIn profile, that you are a people-centered, big picture focused, innovative leader. Wow, that gives me, and I know Rachel to be that. I've known Rachel for years, but watch what Rachel did. She's people-centered, and she's big picture focused. Now, being familiar as I am with the MBTI, I could go to her MBTI letter code and tell you exactly how the insights from the MBTI could have helped inform the words that Rachel uses to show people that what she can do. And so props to you, Rachel, if you're on this call. I think what you've done with your summary statement on LinkedIn is a perfect example of how we can leverage these kinds of insights when communicating our brand, right? Rachel is people focused. Rachel is committed to big ideas. That, in fact, would be similar ways that I would want to describe my own brand. Again, someone like my younger brother, he's not big picture. My brother's interested in the data. My brother is interested in the details and the numbers. Others of us are motivated in different ways and are able to do different things in different ways. It's all about what you bring to the table and no one else. And your distinct combination of strengths and personality wiring and the things that motivate you, y'all, it combines into information that you can use to create your brand, or articulate your brand would be a better way for me to say that. Now, this is a formula that I want to offer you on how you can create a personal brand statement. And I've been trying to operate largely, y'all, without my glasses because of the glare, but I'm going to put my glasses on here for this because I want to be able to really read this and not get it wrong. So this is a formula that you can use to start to understand how to articulate your brand. This is quite similar to what I think Rachel has done with how she communicates her brand. I am a XYZ experience bio. So this is where you can plug in your degree, what you do in the field, who uses XYZ skills. Think about the hard skills and the soft skills that you bring to the table. Do you know how to leverage different technology platforms? Can you do coding? Do you analyze data? Whatever your skill set is, and you know what it is, to have an XYZ positive outcome for XYZ audience, that XYZ in the story goes on. So when I apply that formula, someone could create a brand statement that goes something like this. And this is just a character that I have created. I'm a marketing professional who uses the power of analytics to deliver actionable data insights for teams that empower them to make dependably informed decisions. So if I were to put that, if I were to apply that to myself, this could become the sort of brand statement or personal summary statement that I could leverage on the top of a resume, or that I could leverage in the about or summary section at the top of a LinkedIn profile. So I want you to think about the different pieces of what you can bring to the table. And I really do want to reiterate, if you are struggling to find the vocabulary, if you're struggling to find some insights that can be turned into words that resonate with employers, there is tremendous value in personal assessment. These sorts of, you probably, if you're a creative person, you probably know that. If you're a detail-oriented person, you probably know that. And you don't need an assessment necessarily to tell you, but these assessments can unpack so much more and get so granular about the distinctive things that you can bring to the table. I don't mean for this to be such a commercial for the power of assessment, but when it comes to articulating a brand, I think it's a huge tools really in our toolbox that I want you to leverage if you haven't had the chance to do so. And people on this call, people like Caroline, people like Amanda, us here at the Graham office, we can help you do that if you've not had a chance to do so. We could have an entire job discussion about the elevator pitch, and perhaps that's happened here at Job Club. But I just want to say, even that brand statement, that formula that we just used, you could harness an adapted brand statement and let it be one of the very first elements of your elevator pitch. Again, an elevator pitch being the way that we quickly introduce ourselves when we're meeting someone new for the first time. And we want to give them a sense of who we are professionally and what we have to offer and where we're interested in going. And my personal formula for a quality elevator pitch is going to begin with your name and your adapted brand statement, a little bit of who you are and what you do. That moves into your goals, what you'd like to learn from the conversation as you introduce yourself to this new networking contact. You tell a bit about your own experience story, what your background is, the things that you bring to the table. And then it's nice to finish those pitches by opening up the conversation, tossing it over to the person with whom you're speaking, and let the conversation go from there. But that brand statement can be element one of an elevator pitch. It can inform the way we present ourselves on our resume. It can inform the way that we communicate our brand on LinkedIn, just like so many of you on this call I know are doing it very effectively. As I'm looking at the clock, I'm going to wrap up here in a few moments, but I want to tell you, we're all inspired by different people and their brands. I'm very inspired by RuPaul Charles. And if I were to, say, oh, right, well, let's give some terms, in RuPaul's career, he's been on TV, he's been a recording author, he's a book author, he's been in movies, he's done so much in the world of entertainment. And these are the sorts of terms that I would think of to describe Ru. And in a similar way, I would wonder, what would my friends and my professional colleagues, if they're thinking of Josh Taylor, what would they say are defines Josh's brand? Now, in the few minutes we've got left, so I want you to be thinking about that, but I don't want to finish our conversation without giving you a warning, if you will. The way that we're communicating ourselves online, not just through a professional platform like LinkedIn, but more of the traditional social media platforms like Facebook, Twitter, increasingly TikTok would be part of this conversation. I want you to know that hiring managers pay careful attention to this when trying to get a fuller vision of who you are as an individual beyond what they simply see on a resume when you apply to a position. So let's watch a quick video that will sort of unpack for you not only how hiring managers want to get a better sense of your brand online and some of the things that they're hoping not to see, or some of the things that they might find that they're delighted to see. So let's watch this video quickly. Y'all, what I love about that video is that, so often you'll hear folks like me and other career management service folks warn about the potential pitfalls of how we present ourselves online. And I think we all understand where those areas are, and you need to be mindful of how you present yourself on Facebook, on Twitter. But this video also showed that the flip side of that is that sometimes what a hiring manager sees on those very same platforms are the reason that they became all the more interested in that candidate. So I don't want you just to be concerned, if necessary, about how your brand might be being presented on a Facebook or a Twitter or a TikTok, but you could also ask yourself, how could I use those platforms to my advantage? How can I communicate all the things about me that are going to do me favors? So often we here on a college campus are instructing our young folks to be careful about the way they're presenting themselves online, and that's good and fair advice. But again, the flip side to that is a positive one, that these very same tools can be completely harnessed as an asset. Chief among them that I would encourage you to be leveraging, if you're not already, is LinkedIn. Just like I referenced a moment ago, LinkedIn is a wonderful way for you to check in with people that you know. Like I said, I was chatting with just two of my friends yesterday, both of whom I believe are on this call, Rachel Hoover and Mackenzie. We were chatting about a new tool in the field that we've got our eye on. But you can hop on LinkedIn and strike up career-oriented conversations with your friends in your network. You can communicate who you are. You can look for jobs and opportunities all on one platform. You can learn new skills on LinkedIn. I really am a fan. We could do an entire workshop just on LinkedIn, but if you're not leveraging it to its full advantage, I encourage you to do so. Again, the way that you present your profile, the connections that you make, opportunities and ways to learn new skills, it is fantastic. So what I want to say from here is this, and I'm going to finish how I began. There are opportunities for you to learn more insights if you need them, and a framework, a vocabulary that you can use when you use tools like the Clifton Strengths or the MBTI. And I'm going to circle this back to Rachel. And Rachel, if you're on the call, tell me if I'm getting this right here. Like when someone like Rachel communicates to someone that she is people-centered, I can almost tell you which letter of her MBTI profile would tell us that she is people-centered. When Rachel tells us that she is big picture focused, I know which letter of an MBTI code helps people understand that they are big people or big picture focused. So again, you can just look at these assessments and it will help you unpack all of this. All right, y'all. As I wrap it up, and hopefully we're right on time, Amanda, Caroline, I'm going to toss this back to you. But before I do, everyone, I really do want to thank the folks at Job Club for inviting me to talk about this subject. It's a subject that I enjoy. I hope for you all that this has kind of uncomplicated the branding conversation, because I think it's all too easy for us to think, again, I'm not Oprah, I'm not Michael Jordan. How in the heck am I supposed to have a brand? But we do have brands. And you as a professional, you have got a unique combination of strengths and skills and motivators, and you've got a knowledge base, you've got experience that no one else can bring. I promise you, you alone can bring it. And if you can bring it to an employer in such a way that you can communicate to them that you are prepared, that you are excited, that you can bring value, that becomes contagious. And I think they're going to want to bring you on board. And that's what I'm in the business of doing, is helping people define what they want and then get out there and achieve it. That's what I like to do every day with my students. And I think that's also what Job Club is all about, right, Amanda? So again, thank you, y'all, for the opportunity to speak to you. And I'm going to toss it back your way.
Josh, you do have a question in the chat, maybe two.
Okay, great, sure.
Any suggestions for someone who's older, has been out of the workforce for a while, but has gone back to school for branding?
So any suggestions on, can you repeat that one more time?
On branding for someone who's older, has been out of the workforce for a while, but has gone back to school?
Well, two things. So with age comes experience. And so I want I want this person to know you have both in the professional sense and the things that you've been doing when not necessarily on the market. What informs your story? What have you been up to? And what, to me, there's interesting value in what brings you back to school. What degree are you going after? Why that degree? I suspect that degree is tied to your interests and to your motivations. And so reminding an employer, hey, here's my professional and my personal story. but now life has brought me back to an opportunity to pursue this degree. It's all about the way that we tell our personal story. I'm a big believer in what's called narrative paradigm theory, which holds that everything we do is really just a story. And so I think there's tremendous value there. And I've not met this person, but I already want to know their story. I want to know, what journey life has put them on. But it's all about making those kinds of connections. Talk to someone like me, talk to someone like Amanda, and we can help you. We can listen to your story and help you turn that story into something that will resonate with an employer. I know that for a fact.
That really rings true for me. So much of the work that we do is reframing what our clients are
Absolutely.
saying
Absolutely.
for their resumes or their LinkedIn profile or for interviewing, so that they're showcasing the best version of themselves, the most confident version.
That's exactly right. And those of us that are in the business of doing this every day, it's I hesitate to use this wording, but it's easy for us to hear everything that you can bring to the table, and we can help you put that back together, repackage it, reframe it into ways that resonate.
There was another question, but I think you really answered it. It was about sharing an example for someone who's more on the student recent grad side. I think the example that you shared really takes care of that, Josh. All right. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise with the group. At this time, I'd love to just fill that chat box with gratitude and love for Josh and his expertise. As we're going off screen, we'll invite Caroline to come back up and talk about our job leads.
Again, thank you, Josh. My mind is going so many different directions. It's all so exciting. If someone is having trouble thinking about what their brand might be, pull out some of your past performance evaluations. What are some of the keywords that come out? Or talk to some people you've worked with in the past or former supervisors and ask them, what would they think words would be to describe you or your brand? That's one strategy to utilize. Who's hiring? Today, we're going to be sending out a newsletter with recent job leads that we've received. Also, we'd like to take this opportunity, employers that are on the call that may have an active job lead, if you would raise your hand, we are glad to give you the microphone for a couple of minutes and let you share your lead. Please use that chat box. If you have a lead that you've run across in your search that might be appropriate for someone on Job Club today, please go ahead and share that. Pay it forward. That's always been our Job Club spirit. Pay it forward in that chat box and maybe it'll help someone else. Also, please join our LinkedIn group, our Central Kentucky Job Club Sharing LinkedIn group. Sometimes we get job leads and they expire before the next Job Club meeting. So we quickly throw those on our LinkedIn page, and you never know. A lead on there might be just the lead that could turn into a great job opportunity for you. Amanda, any hands up right now or any sharing in that chat box with job leads that you would like to share with the group?
None that I see just yet.
Okay. We'll move on, and if they come in there, you can certainly share them. We encourage you to keep an eye on the Fayette Cooperative Extension website, as well as the UK Alumni Association Career Services website. Lots of great programming that we offer. Of course, it's virtual right now, but so many resources, free resources that are at your fingertips. So do take advantage of them. Next. For example, Alumni Career Services, we have a monthly career management webinar series, and we are really excited about our Wednesday, February 17th, 12:15 free workshop. This is being presented by a former Job Club speaker, a recruiter out of Chicago, fabulous speaker, and he's going to be talking about the ever so important process of resigning effectively. Even if you're in between jobs right now, we all will have lots of jobs, and being able to exit gracefully is so important in our careers, but it's not something we're really taught in life. I've previewed the slide deck on this, and it's excellent quality. Please go register if you would like to attend that fabulous workshop during lunch on February the 17th. On March the 17th, another good program on the adaptability factor and why flexibility is so critical in the workplace these days. On the page, we do have the link for our STEPS partner, which is the temporary division for UK employment. Nicole Waite is not able to be with us today, but we have a lot of Job Club attendees that get their foot in the door with UK through temporary employment. So take that seriously. Look at that website a couple of times a week, see if anything is of interest to you, and we always encourage you to apply. Our upcoming next Job Club presenter, backed by popular demand, is John Caldwell. He's a Chief People Officer, Senior Vice President at Valvoline. A few years ago, he presented on interviewing and was amazing. He is going to be back with us on February the 23rd to give a good overview of the job search process with some strategies and tips. So you'll want to be sure and join us for that. John's a great speaker as well. That's February the 23rd. You can go ahead and register now. I'll throw it back to you, Amanda, to close us out today.
Sure. I've popped the registration link for our next Job Club session into the chat. We hope you'll join us, ukalumni.net/job club. Remember, we will have the recording for Josh's session up online at that website, probably later this week, along with this PowerPoint deck. Great job, Josh. So grateful for you. On behalf of the UK Alumni Association, the UK Fayette County Cooperative Extension Service, and UK HR STEPS Temporary Employment, thanks for logging in today. So grateful for you. Hope to see you again on February 23rd. Bye-bye.